Just kidding. Halloween is upon us, and it's a time for pumpkin-themed snacks, costumes, and of course, lots of candy. And we showed you Harrison Boulevard is primed and ready for trick-or-treaters, but it wouldn't be Halloween if it wouldn't bring you some story of hauntings or a hair-raising experience here in Idaho. Now, back in 2012, Brian Holmes trekked up to Idaho City to explore the hallowed and sometimes eerie grounds of their Pioneer Cemetery. In this 208 Redial, he looks at those who used to be alive in Idaho, and some say are still with us.
You may be familiar with the story of Idaho City. Gold was discovered here in 1862. The miners made their way here by the wagon load in 1863. And by 1864, it was the largest city in the Pacific Northwest. Obviously, the story doesn't end there.
Almost as soon as the city began, they knew they needed a place where many stories, if not all, come to an end. So they set aside this 40 acres in the hills above Idaho City.
Just off Buena Vista Drive and sharing space with the pines since 1863 lies the Idaho City Pioneer Cemetery, a place whose population grew almost as quickly as the town itself.
A lot of these people came from back east and they gave up everything to find their gold here. And some of them only lived 2 weeks after getting here.
In fact, of the first 200 graves here, it is said only 28 were dug for people who died of natural causes.
Well, the gold rush took place in 1862. Since then, a lot of people met their demise. Many of them involved a gun.
It seems the abundance of gold led to the absence of law-abiding citizens. Over time, more than 3,000 have been buried here, but only about 300 marked graves remain, thanks to erosion and time. But if you ask the locals, there's more here than meets the eye.
Well, if these people died such gruesome deaths and were murdered, that's bound to stir some interest.
We do have quite a few visitors that come up just to kind of feel there's a definite spirit here.
Eileen Capson is a reporter with the Idaho World newspaper and has experienced some of that spirit with a paranormal group investigating this potter's field.
We walked around the cemetery one night, and it's about midnight. It's a little scary. It's very unusual when you stand around with a bunch of folks and they're trying to communicate with whoever might be here. A voice was heard in a woman's voice. It said Elizabeth when they asked her name.
That's why many would describe a boneyard as creepy or eerie. But those aren't the words Joyce Obland would use.
Peaceful, comfortable.
In her quest for genealogy, Joyce has become a fan of final resting places.
You don't feel threatened by anybody here. You know, these people built our little town.
But even she can share a similar experience to Eileen's.
Well, we were up here with a group, and for some reason, something told me to turn around, and there was a fire. And it had just started, and this was at 11 o'clock at night.
From Grover Jones's oldest marked marble.
Died 1865, 7 years, 7 months, 12 days.
To Elizabeth Zipp's 130-year-old reminder, if they ended up here, there's a chance they found their way back to town.
I believe that that's a possibility. Have I ever run into one face-to-face? No.
So if you make your way to the Boise Basin, what are the odds you might bump into more than just a bump in the night?
Are you gonna experience something? I don't know.
But it might make a pretty good story.
So 150 years later, the Idaho City Pioneer Cemetery is still the place where Idaho City residents' stories come to an end. Or they could be starting a new chapter. Is it a new beginning, Joyce? I'm confused.
In Idaho City, Brian Holmes, Idaho's News Channel 7.